la ciencia.
Me, myself, and I still pushing forward, I'm ahead like die. Standing on my flow with my head to the sky. Pass on a bitch, young rip, drop dimes. It's been a rough road, gotta look for the signs. I'm married to this music, so I cook for my bride. Flip out like a skateboarder, look how I grind. It took a long time, but I'm right on time. I'm progressing, that's progressive, I got bars like a correction. Still chasing petty cash, that's a mantis. I want extra, I stop searching for my pops. I hold my nuts just like a checkup. I get physical, I'm copping just like Interpol. I play on words like a syllable. To me the world is fading. Hold this L just like a Laker. Like a birthday, my shit cake it. It get messy like an apron. I pick out just like some bacon, and I sizzle like it too. Can't forget about you, boo. It feel like we on a loop. Same shit, different day. I don't know what's really true. I get high as I leave hoops. Who gon' give me what I'm owed? Man, I guess nobody knew. And I know that money talks, so what it said is probably true. It's the feeling that I get and the shit I'll probably do to get through or get by. I get fly, cause I'm Jeff Goldblum in my mind. Tell them hoes to fall in line. If you thought I fell off, bitch, I'm back like my spine. Hot as homemade pie. That's the pro rate, ma. I'm a pro, ain't I? Sniff it out like K9s. I'm a thief, it take time to be great, I'm Bayside. I get blue like Kelly Parker. When I'm gone, I left a mark. Tell them fish I'm still a shark. I will embark on this journey till it's finished. In the midst of all this friction, I got vision on my P's like no limit. Like a mouse, now we clicking. I go out for the spinach, that's business.
Cut the cord that kept us connected. Blacking out the mirror where your light once reflected. All of the love from up above. We used to fit like a glove. I still think about the you that only exists in my brain. Nothing ever stays the same. Guess it's just a shame. With no one to blame.
Stop looking for somebody else to lay the blame. Without a wave of change, life stays the same. So when I pull up to your spot, I'm with a paradigm chick. Only used to have one and it's my paradigm ship. Calls for celebration, I cracked the hen. I took a hiatus, but I'm back again. A bunch of blue face hundreds, I've been stacking them. Cause in the game of life, I just have to win. So when I'm in go mode, I be ballin' insane. Tried to walk away, they was calling my name. My brothers from another, we are all in the game. Don't give a fuck about clout nor all of the fame. I'm trying to inspire, empower, build and progress at a steady rate. Move heavyweight like a Bowflex. The haters make me greater, they mad, I got them so stressed. Shock my style for a while now, I can show text. Screenshots as proof and receipts. You a certified clown, been a goof in the streets. Angel made the beat, but this my demon flow. Get a lot of love from people I don't even know. And when the situation's ugly like Dudley, we do right. Fuck propaganda, let's conquer and unite. The wait's over, take over, it's commencing. My money fully grown, but yours like an infant. But that ain't no shade to you, it's just provision and protection, what you made to do. Being a man with a purpose, who you supposed to be. Living life as a loser, that's a joke to me. FN 509, stay close to me. If I pull it, I'ma spray like some potpourri. I don't wanna have to go there, so hopefully you don't try to have no beef or no smoke with me. Bro, everything I'm talking about, be backing it up. I'm back in the cuts, rapping the Dutch and macking the hut. She start to get aroused when I'm smacking her butt. Baby got stupid cheeks and she be clapping it up. I'ma enter through the front and hit the back of her guts. She a classy lady but be acting a slut. When we be kissing and cuddling, my bitch like to hug. Her box customized so it fit like a glove.
Turn your radios up. Turn your radios up. Y'all know what this is. Y'all know who this is. B-Eazy Dat Dude, an impromptu stream, back with another one. This one is gonna be a banger, and it's gonna be a doozy. I'm not gonna be here for a long time, but it will be a strong time. Technically on the West Coast, it's still Sunday, so this is a Super Sunday stream. I gave you all a little bit of preview earlier, gave my prognostication, which came to came to fruition. Don't like to keep y'all waiting. We gonna break this thing down. If y'all want to come up and chop it up with me, we can do that. But before we get this thing started, you know, I gotta hit you.
If you know the song, sing along. Yeah, you're right.
私も地元民と言っても実際世代です。もう友達できたの？うん。ぶったさんのこっち見ない。
Look, this promethazine got me leaning like a cholo in the club. I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. Chicks are showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby, move it for me slow-mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting moto. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy Dat Dude in the trap making pass smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji, eating tandoori and chicken curry. That ism is really in me. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of bad.
And we are activated. Did y'all see the Super Bowl? Who were your predictions? I called it. Did I call it or did I call it? Y'all see the score on here, 29-13. And even putting it this way, it was a lot more dominant than it appears on the score. So let's just give a quick overview before I get into the stream. And let me know if y'all have any issues hearing me. I am working on my audio, but just let me know if you guys have any issues hearing me clearly. But here it was, the big one. Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara. Seattle put on a dominant performance, especially on defense. The offense, they left a lot on the table, but they still performed at a high level when it mattered. They shut New England out the first 3 quarters. They had a goose egg, so the defense was suffocating. Now, this defense is not quite on the Legion of Boom level. I wouldn't say that, but they are pretty darn close. So for them to say, hey, look, we don't even want to compare ourselves to the Legion of Boom, so call us the dark side. So this defense is called the dark side. And the dark side was hitting Drake May from the front side, the back side, the blind side. The dark side, they had Drake May tap dancing like the late, great Gregory Hines. They limited explosive plays. They forced mistakes. They recorded a Super Bowl record 7 sacks. They constantly were collapsing the pocket, and they were only rushing 4 many of the time. So that shows how dominant they were on both levels. Rushing 4 means that they were just bullying the Patriots offensive line. And on the back end, their secondary was doing what they needed to do. Now, Sam Darnold, he delivered. Darnold is a journeyman, right? He kind of bounced all around the league, and he found a home in Seattle. He had an efficient game. He looked rather pedestrian at times, but he threw for 202 yards, a touchdown. He avoided costly mistakes. He did miss some big throws that could have been touchdowns. So this lead could have been much more exponential, and the dominant fashion could have been even more dominant. But we got to give a shout out to the MVP, Kenneth Walker the third. He set the tone. The running back running like a man possessed out there. 125 yards rushing. He helps the Seahawks control the tempo because their offensive player of the year, Jackson Egba, they thought he might have had a concussion. Basically, he wasn't the stud that he had been all year. I thought New England played a really good game plan on him. So if they're going to take out one of your star players, someone else has to step up. And that someone was Kenneth Walker III. The Patriots had some costly mistakes. Their offense struggled the whole game. Drake May threw up 2 interceptions. Really could have been more than that because he threw up a couple more where it's like he threw up almost like a chalupa, like, hey, here, I guess he was trying to show love to Bad Bunny because some of those interceptions were like a chalupa. You get a chalupa. You get a chalupa. And he included a pick 6 to the hizzy. So the Patriots committed 3 total turnovers. Drake May. On paper, it looked like Drake May had the better season. And I took a poll earlier and I asked, who is the better quarterback, Sam Darnold or Drake May? Some people thought Drake May because he's the future, the up-and-coming quarterback, and others said Sam Darnold is the guy right now. He was a stud in USC. He was a bust at the Jets. He resurrected his career in Minnesota. Then he stunk it up. Then he came to Seattle and everyone had written him off. And he performed superbly. So Super Bowl 60, it wasn't just a win. It was a statement. Seattle's defense, they stole the show. Their offense, they stayed efficient enough just for the Seahawks to claim their second Lombardi trophy with authority. And like I said on my earlier stream, they really should have 3 because they chose not to give the ball to beast mode. They only have 2. And mind you, give a shout out to the Seattle coach. They got rid of Pete Carroll. They gave him the boot. And 2 years later, they're not only in the Super Bowl, but they've won the Super Bowl. So what do y'all think? And I'm going to go ahead and drop the link because I said I won't be here for a long time, but I will be here for a strong time. And what do you guys think about the halftime show? I personally didn't watch the halftime show. Not because I was protesting or anything like that. I just had some other things to do. I did watch the game, but I did want to give a shout out to none other than John Sinatra, aka Johnson Different, my New York family. Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Roger Meadows, Sha-Ra King, and of course, Tay Baby, and building. So yeah. So let's go through this right now. I did drop the link. Obviously, if I don't recognize you, you might get the boot. But if anybody else want to come and chop it, and I won't be here for a long time, but it will be a strong time. So I'm going to just talk about the game for a little bit. And if no one comes up, then I will transition into a different topic. And then, I'll get ready to shut her down. But I did just want to chop it up with the people. I promised I would come back and do a double header after I did my earlier stream, and here I am. I gave many of the relevant stats, but let's see. Let's look at some of this other stuff. So here you guys can see the game odds. I don't know if anyone betted on the game. Hopefully y'all didn't lose too much money. So let's see what else we have here. So it started out 33-yard field goal by Jason Myers. And this is a recap for the people who didn't see the game. Then another 39-yard field goal by Jason Myers. The Patriots defense was playing pretty stout considering that Drake May was stinking up the joint. Another one, Jason Myers, 41-yard field goal. Arguably, they could have gave the MVP to the kicker. That's how good he was. Again, the kicker again. 41-yard field goal. So that makes it 12-0 New England. And this is in the third quarter with 9:12 left to go. So in the third quarter, they still had a goose egg. The fourth quarter, which made it 19-0, Sam Darnold, he threw a beautiful pass to A.J. Barner. It was just a kind of busted coverage. I don't know what the Pats was doing. So this makes it 19-0. They looked dead in the water. Drake May was looking like a deer in headlights. He was tap dancing. He fumbled the ball. He had already threw 2 picks. So, yeah. But then he dropped a dime to Mac Hollins, a 35-yard pass. And right before he dropped that 35-yard pass, he threw a ball, and it was like 4 people there, and he dropped it right in the breadbasket. So Drake May does have some arm talent. It's just he has to work on his accuracy. He left a lot on the table. He left somebody else that was wide open. That would have been a touchdown or at least a 50-yard plus game. So if there was someone to blame, it would have to be Drake May. Now, collectively, I thought that the New England could have had a better game plan. But Drake May, when you're just turning the ball over like that against this level of elite defense and a veteran poised quarterback who's not going to turn the ball over, who's going to deliver in the moments that they need to, that's a pretty daunting task going up against this dark side defense. But here Myers comes back again with another field goal, 26 yards. So that made it 22-7. There was a 45-yard interception return to the Izzy. Then Drake May came back. He threw a Ramondre Stevenson. He threw him a broken pass, which almost was like a bungled pass. So that was pretty much the game. So we'll look at the game leaders. Sam Darnold, 19 of 38, 1 touchdown, 202 yards. So, like I said, some of the numbers could be considered pedestrian. However, he did what he needed to do to bring his team home to victory. Drake May was the leading rusher of the Patriots with only 37 yards on 5 carries. And on the flip side, you had Kenneth Walker, Kung Fu Kenny. He came with 27 carries and 135 yards. Cooper Kupp. Shout out to Cooper Kupp because he already got a ring. He went to the ship and got one with the Rams. Now he's over here getting one with the Seahawks. So he was their leading receiver, 61 yards. Hollins was the leading receiver for the Patriots with 78. They basically shut Stephon Diggs out. Stephon Diggs was non-existent. However, there were some plays where he was open, but Drake May just missed the passes. I don't know what he was doing. Here you got Hall, 2 tackles. 2 sacks. And then you got Williams on the Patriots with 1. But we got Jones with 11 tackles and Woodson with 10. And you know who doesn't get enough credit for the Patriots? Christian Gonzalez. He was playing a heck of a game. He actually kept them in the game. There are multiple times where there could have been touchdowns, but Gonzalez broke it up. So, this was a dominant game for the Seahawks. It really wasn't even that close. It looks closer on screen, but it wasn't. So let me just do this and I'll show some of the reactions to it. And then I'll see if anybody wants to come up. And then if not, I'll get ready to shut her down. I might do one quick story before I shut it down, but I just wanted to come in and tap in with the people. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Kenneth Walker. His dad got to see him put on a show. So let's see what this is.
I wasn't the one that convinced him, actually. My agent convinced him to come out here. So I didn't think he would come. They ended up miking him up and everything. So he got out of his comfort zone. My dad, he comes out to Seattle all the time and watch games, but he never goes to the game because he don't like crowds. So this is his first NFL game, and we won a Super Bowl, so it means a lot to me, and I know you're proud of me for real. I wasn't the one that convinced him, actually. My agent.
I mean, that's big. His father doesn't like going to games because he doesn't like big crowds. He went to go see his son play, and his son delivered. Not only did he bring home the hardware, he got an MVP. It's a beautiful story. Shout out to Kenneth Walker and his dad. Here's Mike Vrabel on Drake May's performance.
Happen, we can sit here and try to put it on one guy. You'll be disappointed because that'll never happen. It starts with us as coaching staff and making sure that, that we're doing our part. And then obviously we have to be able to execute. We got to be able to protect. When we do protect, we have to be able to progress through and throw the ball to the guy that's open and, and help the quarterback. And then he's got to be better. Like, that's just how it goes. So, that's never going to change.
Respect on it, you heard me? Sierra Leone, Salon.
So I'm just kind of scrolling through right now and seeing what the reactions are.
Super Bowl champions for the second time.
So the Seattle Super Bowl. Definitely got to mute that because they'll hit me with a strike. Kenneth Walker, world champs. So yeah, I mean, they played a heck of a game.
Won the Super Bowl years ago.
Absolutely.
For sure. Over a decade ago, the Seattle Seahawks won a championship. They had a young quarterback in Russell Wilson. You had the Legion of Boom. All of those people are gone.
Yeah.
And so John Snyder had to see a vision of who can be my next coach. 2 defensive coaches have now won a Super Bowl in Seattle. Who's going to be my quarterback? How do I build this team around my core of players? But it still comes down to how you execute on game day.
Absolutely.
And Drake May, who is a great young player, was overmatched by what this defense could do. And Mike McDonald, in my opinion, owned Josh McDaniels like we saw long ago when Bill Belichick did the same to a young Sean McVay. Also, too, this is a totally
thing that you want in a quarterback and a leader. He led his troops today like he's been doing all season. He doesn't let the noise get to him. He's a baller, man, and I've been saying it. The media, they got their own, they want to talk about some, but he's a world champ, and that's something you can't take from him, man. That's something that's cemented in history. Sam Darnold, he's a beast. He's everything that you want in a quarterback and a leader. He led his troops today like he's been doing all season.
Football was over. That's what I was doing all my life. So it was a shocking moment, but my dad worked with me throughout that whole process, and he was in the hospital with me as well, and my mom. So just going through that, it just made me grateful for each and every day to be able to go out there and strap up and play this game and just still be alive.
So shout out to the dark side. So I'm gonna play one quick video. We're gonna see what they gotta say over on Nightcap, and then I'll transition into a quick story. I'm gonna see if I could probably change the thumbnail and the title, just so it doesn't seem misleading. And then I'll get ready to shut her down. So I just want to tap in about the Super Bowl. I'll do a quick story, and then we'll be out of here. I dropped the link. Nobody came up. So, hey, salute to y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Hit that subscribe button to join the fastest growing community on YouTube. Remember, Nightcap doesn't happen without you. So please subscribe or you're going to make Ocho cry. Ocho, the Seattle Seahawks beat the Patriots by the score of 29-13. Seattle defense dominated this ball game. They sacked Drake May 6 times, picked him off twice, and forced a fumble. And
yeah,
I don't know if you know this, Ocho, but if you cannot run the
Talk to
ball
me.
against Seattle, you can't beat them because they're going to play quarters coverage. They'll keep the safeties back, and then just hawk you with your front seven. And Mike McDonald saw something early. If you notice, he brought a lot of slot pressure with a spoon.
Yes.
Even Warwick.
Yes.
They brought that pressure, and Drake May, it got to him because when he wasn't expecting pressure, they brought it. When he was expecting pressure, they backed up out of it. And what it caused him to do is make some errant throws when he had guys open. This game should have been over a long time ago. Sam Darnold did not play his best ball. He left some plays on the field, Ocho. On the third down, he missed Cooper Kupp. Jackson Smith and Jigba should have walked in the end zone at that post. He was late. Yeah. He threw it on his back here. Great jump by Gonzalez. The ball was late. No, if he throws that like he's supposed to, that's a walk-in touchdown. But anyway, anyway, 29-13. Ocho, what did you like about what you saw from Seattle from start to finish?
I mean, start to finish on defense. I said it from the beginning. The games like this are won in the trenches. It starts with the defense. Listen, offense, it puts butts in the seats, but defense wins championships. And that's why the game was won tonight by Seattle. I think offensively, Seattle didn't do much in the first half, but hell, neither did the offense of New England. They didn't do anything. The game was close enough, and they've had opportunities. Drake May and that offense had opportunities to make it a game, but they just couldn't do anything offensively because the defense plays so damn well. I'm not sure who the center, the guard, and the left tackle are for the goddamn New England Patriots. They need to get into the weight room this offseason. You get into the weight room this offseason. I even tweeted I tweeted at halftime, at the half. If you're going to do anything outside of the quick game, play action or 5-step drop, you need to help the left guard. You need to help the center in the best way you can because they are getting obliterated in anything outside of 3-step drop. And listen, offensively, the Seahawks didn't get going. They had a play here and a play there, and things didn't open up until the second half. And they ran away with the game.
Yeah. The thing is, it's hard to go play. The thing is, Ocho, they couldn't run the football. And once you can't run the football, because their corners are really good, they're going to break on anything underneath. And they know you don't have time to throw it deep. So now you're up against it. You're right. That left side of the line for the Patriots is not very good. Will Campbell was a high draft pick, and I don't know if it's injury, but he has a problem with speed guys, and he has a guy that converts speed to power. Because if you look at him, Ocho, when he sets on the bull, the guys still go by him. I'm like, well, hold on. You just said heavy. You know he's going to come with the bull, and he still runs you over?
Yeah, you got to anchor down. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. The Ocho, he anchored, and he got to do some squat.
Okay, so y'all get the gist of the video. So I'm gonna just go ahead and I changed the title in the thumbnail. So I'm gonna transition into another story. So salute to y'all. Salute to Nightcap, and it looks like we've been joined by an illustrious guest. Sincere Saida in building. So don't worry about it. Give me uno momento. And I'm going to pull up this next video. So while we're waiting, give me like 30 seconds.
That is nasty, bro, like a nasty hoe. I got a nasty flow. My baddie, though, is a classy pro. I manage her and she escort. International exports. I got hardware, my tech support. Really about that business, cause I'm that dude, but you just adore. Used to be on that block, equipped with a Glock. I sold all kind of dope. 10 toes down on the pavement. I send that bitch like an envelope. Enclosed with a love letter. I love cheddar, so I grind hard. I be putting that work in, but I ain't punching no time card. When it comes to being a boss, nigga, I am the epitome. You keep hating, belly aching, but it takes more to get rid of me. I am full of energy, but I ain't feeling jittery. I'm just grinding, shining like a diamond, looking glittery. Literally, I just left the bank to deposit racks. Holla back, don't want no shoes and clothes because my closet packed. I got hella different kicks just like Leon on me.
Okay, we're back at it, and no problem, Sincere. Thank you for all you do. You know, keep your foot on their neck. Continue delivering the substantive and entertaining content. So, y'all seen the title, y'all seen the thumbnail. I'm going to go back later and change the title and the thumbnail. I just kind of did this on the fly. But for some reason, the Black obsession continues. Y'all have heard the term black fatigue, which they co-opted, just like they co-opted every other term that we come with, i.e. woke, etc. But here we have a segment of two W men. There's no black people around, but yet who do you think they're going to bring up consistently? Yes, you've guessed it. Black people. No black people around. So neither of them are black. There's no black people around them, but they're going to constantly mention black people. With all of the issues that they could be talking about in their community, they always somehow have to bring up black people, framing it as if it's a concern, or if they want to help the community. And hey, I'm just calling balls and strikes. I don't have anything against the community. Talking about a problem while also not presenting a solution is a form of whining. Many of these people, all they do is whine about the black community. They hate the community. They despise the community. Once you talk about solutions and things that will rectify and change the conditions of the community, they call it woke and DEI and say, well, why are you helping them? Why are we helping the group that you keep antagonizing, demonizing, denigrating? Yes, you're targeting this group specifically. So in order to bring enfranchisement, to bring economic justice, we need to target this community. The same way you targeted that community negatively, you need to target them positively. So these dudes are debating. This dude is Brian Shapiro, who I'm gonna look it up. He's probably a Jewish person. Let me see. Usually with a name like Shapiro, and I have nothing against Jewish people, but I just want to bring this up because there's this thing where somehow people want to act as if Jewish people are not white. So I'm looking it up. Oh no, this says Ben Shapiro. I can't even find anything about this dude. So we'll assume we don't know what he is. So he's debating some dude named Alex Stein on racial profiling, right? So let's get into the video.
6 with all those people stormed.
You and I argue real quick, Brian. You and I argue so much. But Brian, real quick, we got to go to break. But you know that there was FBI agents at the end. But I want to start off with your ex-boyfriend, Doc.
So this is going to just be a clip. I don't know where the full video is. Don't really care. I don't think I could stomach watching the full video. Even that start of the video, I don't know why the dude, you have a really good microphone. You don't need to be yelling obnoxiously and incoherently in the mic. This Alex Stein or Steen dude is already coming off like a moist, moronic maniac.
Don Lemon. So you used to date Don Lemon, is that true?
No, that's entirely not true. But Don, in all seriousness,
why would my producer lie? He said y'all were very close and y'all spent a bunch of nights together and he's like your mentor and stuff and that he groomed you. Is my producer lying when he said all this?
Definitely not true, but I will say in seriousness, he's helped me with my career. He's a good dude. He's been a really good friend of mine. And what has happened to him over the course of the last several days or so will only help him and make him stronger. Donald Trump has helped Don Lemon's career.
Hey, you know what? Actually, I think that is a good point. The more you try to cancel somebody, I think it has a reverse effect where it actually makes you, more popular. But tell me this. So before we really, I know you're not going to trash your friend Don Lemon, but he says white supremacy is one of our biggest problems in America, yet he's married to a white guy. Doesn't that seem a little bit hypocritical?
Yeah. No, because he's not saying.
So here are the kind of pathetic questions. First of all, why is he asking him about Don Lemon? The Epstein files are running rampant. Trump is over here smoozing up with dictators in other countries, getting bought out with private planes. Why the hell are they talking about Don Lemon? I get he's asking him that because Don Lemon is a friend of his, but what does this have to do with anything? So these people will spend hours talking about Don Lemon, and then he's saying it's hypocritical because Don Lemon talks about white supremacy. So why is he married to a white man? And these people are supposed to be the high IQs, and they somehow just can't figure this out. When you're talking about white supremacy, you're talking about a system. right? Not every white person is a white supremacist. However, we're all under the system of white supremacy. And as much as people try to deny it, that helps the system maintain, its core elements and remain pervasive and, allowed to permeate throughout society. They laugh and act like it's a joke, but people don't like the term white supremacy, but the white supremacists came up with the term white supremacy. So whether it's the term white dominance, white supremacy, it doesn't really matter. However, whatever euphemism you come up with, it means the same thing. This is what they said. And it doesn't mean that, hey, because you say white supremacists, because people say, ain't no white person supreme over me. But it's like, no, it's not even about that. What it means is that a supreme system has been set up where it demonizes you based on your skin tone and race. And as much as people try to pretend that it doesn't exist, it does exist. That's why, people try to do things to rectify the white supremacy, whether it be affirmative action, DEI, redlining, etc. However, white supremacists still control all of those systems, whether it be DEI, affirmative action. If they couldn't control it, then they wouldn't be able to just at the snap of a finger or with the stroke of a pen eliminate it, because it's their system. They may allow you some level of perceived autonomy that they can stop at any time. You can own a house and then somehow somebody from the HOA could say, oh, because you didn't water your lawn enough, so now we want to take your house. You know what I mean? And the white people who try to pretend that white supremacy doesn't exist or white privilege doesn't exist, and then they turn around and say this is a white Christian nation. If it's a white Christian nation, then that means that the nation favors white people and they favor Christians. That's a privilege. Do you not know what the definition of privilege is? So the whole thing of pretending that white supremacy doesn't exist, white people who are white supremacists say that it exists. So who are you to try to say that it doesn't exist? Just because you want, you want your ego to feel better that, hey, they're not supreme over me. Yeah, they're in a supreme position over you. They have more wealth than you. They have more firepower than you. They're more ruthless than you. That's in a supreme position based on that supreme system. The system is not supreme simply by virtue and, inheritance, right? Is ruled with an iron fist. Might make rights. You may be morally just. You may have a better constitution. You may have a better system that works. But if you're not able to implement that system because you're not ruthless enough, then no one will ever know about that system, right? You can have the best playbook, the most greatest innovations. But if you're not able to protect that, somebody with a bigger gun and more massive firepower will take it, and that will become law. And some people will say, hey, that's just how it is. Others will rebel against it. But most people just kind of accept the status quo. As long as their position is somewhat better in, the maintained social order, then many people are okay with that. They don't care if Elon Musk becomes a trillionaire as long as they're above the blacks. So let's get back into it.
Hey, you know what? Actually, I think that is a good point. The more you try to cancel somebody, I think it has a reverse effect where it actually makes you, more popular. But tell me this. So before we really, I know you're not going to trash your friend Don Lemon, but he says white supremacy is one of our biggest problems in America, yet he's married to a white guy. Doesn't that seem a little bit hypocritical?
Yeah. No, because he's not saying every white person is a white supremacist, Alex. Of course, white supremacy is a problem in America. And anybody who says it's not, you're just like Tucker Carlson. There's racist people in all crayons in the color crayon box, for lack of a better term. And Don was saying, yeah, white supremacy is a problem. Islamophobia is a problem. Homophobia is a problem. Anti-Semitism is a problem. There's a lot of problems in this country. Obviously, he's not saying his husband is a white supremacist. I don't think he'd marry somebody like that. But yeah, saying that white supremacy is an issue in America is completely correct. I don't know about you, Alex. I don't know what it's like to be pulled over because of the color of my skin. I don't know what it's like to be followed in an electronics store because of the color of my skin. I've never been judged by somebody looking at me. So I believe Don Lemon, and the difference between me and a lot of people on the right that say systemic racism doesn't exist is they don't listen to black people. They don't understand that life is different through somebody else's lens other than your own.
Well, listen, we already agree on something. I believe systemic racism does exist. In the 60s, it was towards black people, but now we have systemic racism. I can't even say it. Systemic racism towards white people, because why do I have to have a higher?
So here we go again. First, they said systemic racism didn't exist. It was a hoax. Then they're saying, oh, yeah, we did have it. It was in the 60s. But what they don't say is that they never rectified what happened in the 60s. They're saying, he just said right here, right? He said in the 60s, racism was against blacks. Now, watch how they're going to pivot. You know what I mean? And this is what I always talk about, how they always target black people. But when it's time to rectify the damage that was done, then they start talking about minorities, overlooked communities, people of color, all sorts of, things to say that, hey, this is not black, but we're just going to use the pain of black people, which is how white women specifically benefited most from affirmative action. They targeted black people, demonized black people, attacked black people. But when it was time to dole out the resources, they gave them to white people, mainly white women, but giving things to white women is giving things to white people. Most white women marry white men, so you're giving something to the white family. And this is on top of already the nepotism that's going on and the privilege that's going on in the white male sector. So all they did was just use black pain to consolidate whiteness. That's white dominance and white supremacy. Now, of course, there'll be some poor snaggletooth dude in Appalachia saying, well, where's my privilege? And I didn't own any slaves and all this stuff. Yeah, but you keep to maintain the system. They're screwing you over. Instead, you're getting mad at black people for demanding the government live up to the moral righteousness that they claim. See, the poor people in Appalachia, they should be on the side saying, yeah, you know what I mean? Y'all need to stop mistreating the blacks, and y'all need to give them every penny that they're owed. And then you know what? People in Appalachia, we need to stand up with them and make sure that the money is not going to Israel and Ukraine and all of these foreign entities, that the money stays right here to build up homegrown talent with skills, with knowledge, with acumen, enriching the communities. That's what it should be about. But instead, they allow twerps and dweebs like this dude on the screen to push culture war issues and still talk about BLM and George Floyd and 1350, things that don't really have anything to do with your life, because people keep talking about black on black crime and all of these areas that they don't live in. You live in a segregated enclave. So let's just say that this crime was so rampant and out of control, but it's not affecting you in any way. You're watching the news, but you don't have to watch the news. You don't ever wonder why the news is so slanted. If it bleeds, it leads. The news is not telling you anything about how to afford a house or how to be more financially literate, but they will bombard you with so many stories of what they call black degeneracy, right? All of these alleged black degenerates are being held accountable by the justice system, most times unfairly, but they're being locked up and penalized. Who's being penalized for the pedophiles? No one. Is Alex Steen going to do a long segment about that? Or is he going to blame black dudes who are shoplifting? Let's see.
Racism doesn't exist is they don't listen to black people. They don't understand that life is different through somebody else's lens other than your own.
Well, listen, we already agree on something. I believe systemic racism does exist. In the 60s, it was towards black people, but now we have systemic racism. I can't even say it. Systemic racism towards white.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely America first, but many of, unfortunately, the liberal lunatics and the MAGA maniacs, they're not America first. Many of them are immigrant first. Many of them are anti-black, so they'll be willing. They don't care if Ukrainians get money. They don't care if Armenians get reparations for genocide. They don't care if Guamanian people get money. They don't care if Israel gets money for reparations. They don't care if it's Palestinians. They don't make a big stink about money going out of the country. Yeah, they'll make a whiny post on Twitter, but when there's even a suggestion that, hey, you know what, we did black people wrong. Here's all of the historical injustices we did to them. You know, maybe we should compensate them. I mean, they're not immigrants, so the money will stay in the country and it will stimulate the economy. No, those niggers can't have anything. People are foaming at the mouth, crust drooling out the side of their mouth, just because they don't want black people to get anything, specifically foundational black American freedmen. They don't mind if immigrants get some things because then they can push the model minority myth. If they can do it, why can't you? Okay, give me the loan that you gave them and then let's compare it. Then they say you're begging. You'll tell the citizens that they're begging the government. Immigrants come over here, beg the government, and they say, hey, well, what do you expect? They're an immigrant. Yeah, but you said that they are a model minority with a superior culture. So why are they begging my government again?
Racism does exist. In the 60s, it was towards black people, but now we have systemic racism. I can't even say it. Systemic racism towards white people, because why do I have to have a higher score to get into medical school or law school than a black person? Don't you think that that is racist? Why are they able to get into a school with a lower grade?
Uh-oh, we got a choosy Susie in building. Jan 40D, I don't know if you a bot. I don't know if you a bot, a bimbo, a boo, or a babe. I don't know, but shout out to Jan 40D. She says, I honestly believe that I should be submissive to black men to make up for past wrongs for my race. Now, look, I don't concur with the white guilt, right? Because if you didn't do it, then you shouldn't feel guilty for it. But I mean, if you want to bust it open, you feel me, and you want to slide on some soul pole, then, you know, be my guest. Just what you throw in that thing and, you know, you getting piped from the bike, that ain't reparations, you know. Now, people will gladly slide in the box, especially if it's ooey gooey, wet and slippery, but that ain't no reparations. But yeah, shout out to Jen 40D. Go bust it open on some soul pole.
Than me. Why is the bar lowered for them? How is that not a direct attack on me because of my race?
Well, first of all, that's never happened to me, number one. Number two, if you're talking about affirmative action, I think most people would agree minorities in this country as a whole in the past have not had maybe the same opportunities.
So why did you hear what he said? They're talking about black people, and then he immediately pivots to minorities. What the hell are you talking about? And see, this dude is supposed to be, you know, a yo, he's down with the brothers and stuff, but let's see what he has to say. But they're always talking about affirmative action, but they never bring up the stats. So I'm gonna let him say his soliloquy, and I'll pull up what most people pretend as if they don't know. Because they knew that they targeted black people negatively, but then when you try to, you know, do something to say, hey, this was wrong, we need to take direct affirmative action to right this wrong, then, man, that's reverse racism. How? No one is getting lynched. There's no line of black people standing trying to block white kids from going into a school so much that you have to call the National Guard. That's not happening. But, you know, here is Brian Shapiro, who's supposed to be, you know, one of the yo, like this dude you would consider an ally, but this dude shows that we have no allies. He's not standing up for black people. He's standing up for Don Lemon, a black gay dude who gave him an opportunity. Now, this dude jokes with him and said, hey, is Don Lemon your boyfriend? I don't know. That's some kind of wild sex play. So we don't joke like that, really, you know, but let's just get into the video. I don't know. Maybe him and Don Lemon do have a little something going on, which I don't care, but I just don't want people to mistake that this dude is not standing up for black people. He's standing up for his black friend, Don Lemon.
On me because of my race.
Well, first of all, that's never happened to me, number one. Number two, if you're talking about affirmative action, different through somebody else's lens other than your own.
Well, listen, we already agree on something. I believe systemic racism does exist. In the 60s, it was towards black people, but now we have systemic racism. I can't even say it. Systemic racism towards white people, because why do I have to have a higher score to get into medical school or law school than a black person? Don't you think that that is racist? Why are they able to get into a school with a lower grade than me? Why is the bar lowered for them? How is that not a direct attack on me because of my race?
Well, first of all, that's never happened to me, number one. Number two, if you're talking about affirmative.
And shout out to Jen 40D. She said she liked and subbed. And Ricky Williams is like, he already got the Snow Bunny cooch. See, it is a lot of crazy dudes that they are like, they worship whiteness. So when Martin Luther King said, we coming to get our check, it was a lot of niggas out there saying, we don't need no check. You know, they just wanted some cooch from Karen. You know what I mean? They just wanted to sniff, like Sincere said, they just wanted to suck the farts out of Karen butt. And they said, that's reparations enough. You know what I mean? Just for them to be able to fondle some milk of magnesia. They was like, forget a check. They just wanted to be face deep in Becky's cooch. Nah, that ain't no reparations. If you want to be face deep, cool. Get the check first, though.
Action, I think most people would agree, minorities in this country as a whole in the past have not had maybe the same opportunities as somebody like me or somebody like you. There is something in this country called white privilege. Now, I don't necessarily.
Here we go again, another low IQ bigoted comment. Bro, we don't even report gang statistics because it makes blacks look too bad. This is idiotic, right? So some people will say, look, man, there's a lot of gang statistics, but look, we hate the blacks. We don't like those niggers, but don't post the stats. That'll make them look too bad, even though their sole purpose is to make us look bad. That's how they get funding, by making us look bad. So by making us look worse, they would get even more funding, more robot dogs and militarized weaponry. And this is crazy though, because people always talk about gang statistics. Dude, clearly you're not black. You're in no threat of being assaulted or attacked by some black gang member. But guess who is destroying life for you? It's people who look like you. Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Trump, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, all of these big wigs who look like you. And this is what's pathetic with the liberal lunatics and the MAGA maniacs. It's a bunch of white dudes who look like you who are running amok, making it so that you can't afford a home. Your kids won't be able to afford a home. They saying we need more white babies, but they don't want to hire white dudes. Forget the blacks, right? Y'all hate blacks. We're not going to hire those niggers. Okay, fine. They're not hiring the white dudes. They're trying to hire dudes who look like Vivek Ramaswamy and Dinesh D'Souza. And then you got imbeciles like this dude who's leaving this comment saying that they don't even report the statistics because it makes blacks look too bad. And let's just say that was true. That would mean that they're lying, and that would mean that the statistics are inaccurate. And that would mean that they can't be trusted. If blacks really look bad, why don't you report all the crimes? If you're saying that you're omitting crimes, that means that you're lying. So what are you really saying? That these systems are lying and untrustworthy? Isn't that what black people have been saying the whole time? So it sounds like you agree with this. It's just you're too low IQ to understand that.
Really agree with someone having the same grades or somebody having better grades or more extracurriculars, not getting into a college and picking somebody else who is black. I'm not necessarily a big fan of that, but I can understand it. There's a difference.
So he's saying he's not a big fan of that, but that's not happening. It's not a bunch of highly qualified whites in there saying, look, you're highly qualified, but we're going to go with the black person that's unqualified. That's not what's happening. And GPA doesn't tell the whole story. So what happens is they'll say, well, I got a 4.0 and this black dude had a 3.8. So he got in because the color of his skin. And then you look at the stats, it's barely like 6%. I don't even think it's 5% of black people at Harvard, because this study is based off of Harvard. Notice that these people could get into any school right? But then they fixate on these Ivy League schools, and then they get mad because they didn't get into Harvard. They don't talk about the legacy admissions, which are people getting in not based on merit. They're getting in because of their pappy or their grandpappy. That's not pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, and that's not meritocratic. That's nepotism. That's a handout, a goodie, and a giveaway. But instead of talking about legacy admissions, people are talking about Black people. And there's this mythical boogeyman that some white people can't get into college because some unqualified Black got in. So are you a victim or not? I thought victim politics was bad. I thought the oppression Olympics was bad. I can't get into a college because of an unqualified Black. But that's not what happened. And many of these colleges, they have a grading system. It's not just about all of the people with the highest grades. Many of you guys went to school with some Asians that had the highest IQ and the highest GPA. Does that mean that they would make a great leader? Does that mean that you want to party with them? Does that mean that they were funny or charismatic or had an affable personality? No, that just means that they were book smart and they could score good on a test. Just because people score good on a test doesn't mean that they're good people, that they're good with people or good with leading people, which is why there's a lot of Asians that should be even more represented in leadership, but there's certain qualities that stereotypically they don't have because they wanted to push the model minority myth where they're just docile, go along to get along and don't rock the boat. Yeah, that's fine if someone is looking for a minion, but if they're looking for someone to pop their collar and beat their chest, they're not going to look to an Asian person. And I get it. That's a stereotype, but who made the stereotype? Who's in control of the narrative of that stereotype? It's not George Floyd.
I might not necessarily agree with it, but I certainly understand it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I want to help marginalized people too, but the reason why everybody's getting followed in an electronics store.
So here we go again. The first dude, they're talking about Black people, and then he talking about, hey, yeah, I understand affirmative action. It tried to right the wrongs with minorities. Like, huh? You just were talking about Black people. And then here he is, they're railing against Black people, saying he can't get into college because of Black people. And then they pivot and talk about marginalized groups. So are you saying you can't get into college because of marginalized groups or because of Black people? I mean, which one is it? And before, let me just pull this up too. Of course, I got to hit y'all with some scholarship. They love to talk about affirmative action and DEI, but y'all know who benefited the most. I really don't need to click on these articles. Y'all could do your own research, but y'all see this. Who benefited most? Multiple sources. Y'all don't got to take my word for it, right? Many people don't believe me. You may think I'm a low IQ sub-Saharan. I get it, right? So how about US Today? White women benefit most from affirmative action. Another one. Studies show white women benefit more from DEI and affirmative action. Another thing. Affirmative action has helped white women more than anyone. Another one. White women benefited the most from DEI. Another one. Affirmative action benefits white women the most. Another one. What women have gained from affirmative action. And once you see it, you will see who gained the most. You guessed it, white women. I mean, you can go on and on. The high IQ should know this, right? This is your community. This is your culture. This is your history. This is American history, right? And these are just from 2023. Obviously, you can go back further, but y'all don't have to take my word for it. Do your own research. So when people try to say affirmative action was reverse racism, how was it reverse racism when it mainly benefited the dominant society? Most white women marry white women. Most white women marry white men. So that means the benefits of affirmative action is going to a white family, right? And people will say there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong with that is you're demonizing Black people and painting them as welfare queens and that they're receiving these undue or unjust benefits when it's your community who's actually sucking up and leeching all of the benefits, using someone else's pain and tribulations so that you can come up off of it. Is that really the moral and righteous thing to do? So now let's get back into the video. So that's been debunked. No one has to keep bringing this up. And this is your own community debunking that. So no one has to continuously pretend as if, affirmative action was a panacea for Black people. It wasn't. It was another resource grab for the dominant society and a way to bring in a bunch of other buffer groups, because it talked about minorities and marginalized groups and people of color. All that is just a way to ethnically erase us and include everyone else under the banner of minority. If there's a straight white dude and he breaks his leg, now he's disabled and he's a minority. If there's a straight white dude named Billy Bob and he wakes up and says that he wants to be trans, now he's part of a marginalized group, and you can't call him him. You have to respect his pronouns and say they, because now they are a minority entitled to the same benefits as Black people who were getting lynched, beat, redlined, sharecropping, debt peonage, mass incarceration. Somehow that's the same as some white dude who broke his leg and now has a handicap placard. Both parties support this, endorsed by the Democrats and co-signed by the Republicans. Both parties are the same. Two fangs on the same viper, two cheeks on the same booty.
Extracurriculars, not getting into a college and picking somebody else who is Black. I'm not necessarily a big fan of that, but I can understand it. There's a difference. I might not necessarily agree with it, but I certainly understand it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I want to help marginalized people too, but the reason why everybody's getting followed in an electronics store is because if you look at per capita crime stats, African Americans tend to commit certain crimes that other ethnicities don't commit.
So once again, why are they bringing us up? They went from minorities to marginalized groups, but they keep going back to Black people. There's no crime that we commit that others don't commit. So not only is he lying, this dude who's supposed to be a yo white dude, he's not even equipped to challenge what this dude is saying. And notice how they always bring up per capita. When they say per capita, they're only bringing that up because they don't want to bring up the raw numbers. The raw numbers show that they commit the most crime. Whatever crime it is, it could be shoplifting, it could be murder. They commit the most crime. But instead of admitting that they're raw numbers, they try to say, no, we use per capita because that gives a better representation of the rate of crime. So now it went from the amount of crime to the rate of crime. So if their group is responsible for 5,000 murders and your group is responsible for 500 murders, they'll say, yeah, our group did 5,000 murders, but since we have a larger group, 5,000 murders, it's not really 5,000, but you have 500 murders, and since you have a smaller group per capita, your group is more violent. But what's a larger number, 5,000 or 500? And then they try to convince you that, hey, you just don't understand math. But just ask yourself this, what is a bigger number, 5,000 or 500? Because they'll always give all sorts of stereotypical racial tropes. You guys are low IQ. You guys grew up in fatherless homes. You have low impulse control, and it's just inherent to you. So wouldn't that explain why we're committing crime? We're committing crime because we're low IQ, lazy, with low impulse control. I mean, that sounds, it may not be an excuse, but that is a rationale for why this particular demographic is committing crime. But on the flip side, you say that you're morally righteous. You grew up with a silver spoon. You're a white Christian nationalist, possibly evangelical. Why is your community committing crime? You guys don't grow up in fatherless homes with kids out of wedlock. So why are you committing crime, right? You don't have a culture of degeneracy, listening to rap music and watching Boys in the Hood. So why are you committing crime again? You had a 2-parent home. You didn't grow up with a single baby mama. So why are you committing crime again? So all of these people talking about per capita, all it is just a way to obfuscate and deflect from the rampant crime that they're doing. Raw numbers do matter. I get it. You want to use per capita because it favors your argument and narrative to shape it and say that, hey, look at the percentage and look at the rate of crime. No, look at the raw total numbers. That does matter. Like I said, one group is responsible for 5,000 murders, another group responsible for 500. They convince you that the group that's responsible for 500 is much more violent because they're a smaller group. And if you look at the rate, they are more prone to committing this violence. And you just don't understand per capita. No, what I don't understand is how your Lily W community is who's so sweet and angelic. Why are you guys committing any crime at all? Y'all have already demonized us, so we understand, right? It makes sense. It just doesn't make sense why your community is, so obnoxious and unruly in the streets. But why are they bringing us up anyways? They talked about marginalized groups, so why aren't they bringing up Latinos? Aren't they marginalized? They talked about minorities. Why aren't they bringing up Asians? Aren't they a minority? Oh, they're saying that none of these other groups commit crime. And here he is railing against certain crimes that he said no other group commits. So if we get locked up for murder, no one else commits murder. We get locked up for car theft, no one else steals cars. You get locked up for prostitution, no one else does that. Any crime, all racial groups do that because crime has no color. But is Brian Shapiro going to push back on any of this stuff? No, because he's not here to stand up for black people. He doesn't give a damn about black people, but he does care about his, his buddy, Don Lemon.
Reason why everybody's getting followed in an electronics store is because if you look at per capita crime stats.
Another lie. Everyone is not getting followed in a store because this doesn't make sense. He's saying everyone is getting followed in the store because per capita crime stats with black people. So why would white people get followed if the crime stats overwhelmingly point to black people? Why would they follow white people if you said the crime stats overwhelmingly highlight black crime? This shit doesn't even make sense. And why is Brian Shapiro even talking to dudes like this? For clout, you know what I mean? What is going to come of this stuff? This dude is not going to suddenly start liking black people or stop demonizing marginalized groups. So people like Brian Shapiro, he's complicit. If you're going to go on these type of shows, you need to destroy the talking points. Instead, he's trying to be all sweet and cordial and just letting this dude lie when he already disrespected him, saying that Don Lemon was his boyfriend and pretty much his butt buddy.
Have not had maybe the same opportunities as somebody like me or somebody like you. There is something in this country called white privilege. Now, I don't necessarily agree with someone having the same grades or somebody having better grades or more extracurriculars, not getting into a college and picking somebody else who is black. I'm not necessarily a big fan of that, but I can understand it. There's a difference. I might not necessarily agree with it, but I certainly understand it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I want to help marginalized people too, but the reason why everybody's getting followed in an electronics store is because if you...
Well, actually, there is some privilege that is helping her, right? White, and this is kind of like a goofball comment right here. Like, white privilege doesn't mean that, hey, no white person ever gets punished or scolded or reprimanded or even unalived. What it means is that is less likely to happen to you because of your skin tone. If you can't understand this, I get it. Your IQ may not be above room temperature. And if that's the case, I don't want to beat up on the mentally handicapped.
You look at per capita crime stats, African Americans tend to commit certain crimes that other ethnicities don't commit. And I mean, but you can blame that on, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that doesn't mean that gives you the right to racially profile somebody. That doesn't mean that.
See, I disagree.
Go up.
Well, Well, I disagree because actually law enforcement, and now you see it with ICE, racial profiling is one of their best tactics when it comes to arresting criminals. Like they will even tell you that in.
So he said he's okay with racial profiling, but then he's also crying against systemic racism against white people. You see how low IQ and bigoted these people are? So he doesn't mind black people being racially profiled. He doesn't mind other people who don't look white being racially profiled by ICE because he thinks that ICE is doing the right thing. But then if people start racially profiling people that look like these dudes, a bunch of people in the Epstein files, they look like these two dudes. The people who are running the country into the ground look like these two dudes. When they look up the crimes that talk about what they call like zoophilia or bestiality, people allegedly having intercourse and penetrating animals, they look like these dudes, right? So when people are looking for crimes, maybe we should just start racially profiling all white people because, hey, you know what I mean? It was all white people in the Epstein file. Y'all heard what Epstein said. He didn't want any niggers around, right? So it was all white people. So shouldn't we be racially profiling white people right now? Because the Epstein and we're only racially profiling you guys because we have to protect the victims, right? I'm pro-life. I care about those babies who were violently and non-consensually assaulted in the Epstein file. So how about we just go around profiling people? Brad, Chad, Benjamin, Bartholomew. Yeah, let's racially profile since he's okay with it, right? I'm sure it will bear a lot of fruit. And even with the stop and frisk disproportionately targeted black people. But when they stopped white people, who was even a larger share of the population, but they stopped them much less than black people, but they found either paraphernalia, guns, weaponry on them. And I believe 80 to 90% of the instances. Look this up. They did a study on the stop and frisk. But yeah, let's get back into the video. But like I said, Brian Shapiro, he's not equipped to challenge this dude because he doesn't really want to go hard at the white supremacists. He'll go hard at MAGA people, but he's not attacking white supremacy. He's attacking MAGA and Donald Trump. So he'll speak of white supremacy and he'll kind of speak tepidly around it as if it's bad, but he won't talk about dismantling it, and then he won't talk about rectifying what white supremacy has destroyed and disenfranchised. So, I mean, how much of an ally could he really be? Which I'm not saying he is, I'm just making the case that clearly he's not. Neither of these people are.
Gives you the right to racially profile somebody. That doesn't necessarily agree with it, but I certainly understand it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I want to help marginalized people too, but the reason why everybody's getting followed in an electronics store is because if you look at per capita crime stats, African Americans tend to commit certain crimes that other ethnicities don't commit. And I mean, you can blame that on, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that doesn't mean that gives you the right to racially profile somebody. That doesn't mean that.
See, I disagree.
You can just go up.
Well, I disagree because actually law enforcement, and now you see it with ICE.
Here we go again. Small Wolf with another low IQ, lunatic, and lying comment. And here it goes. How many times do we have to hear that? It's the Jews. And every time y'all say that it's the Jews,
right.
Jews want to make blacks look bad in order to divide them from whites. Jews are white. Do I have to pull it up again? This is not me. According to Pew Research, Brookings, and the U.S. Census, 92%, let me say that one more again, 92% of American Jews identify as racially white. There's no gun to their head. There's nobody strapped with C4 saying that they were going to detonate the bomb if you don't check the box. They are willingly and voluntarily checking the white box because most Jews in America are white. So when you try to say the Jews are trying to divide the blacks from whites, the Jews are just another ethnic white. That's all they are. And if they're not white, where is the outrage? Where is the delineation movement? Where is the push for disaggregation of data? There's not. Jake Tapper, white. Dana Bash, white. Bernie Sanders, white. They're all Jewish, right? So what is the difference between Bernie Sanders and Trump? Two white dudes. No, Bernie Sanders, he's Jewish. Trump is white, Bernie Sanders is white. What are we really talking about here? But he says, we have more in common with white Americans than they do Africans and the whites with Europeans. Of course, we have more in common because foundational Black American freedmen, we are Americans. But unfortunately, many of you guys will say that the Jews are the big boogeyman, but you guys co-sign all of the stuff they do. When Jews are in blackface, you guys co-sign the stuff. You know what I mean? There were a bunch of Jews in the Confederate Army, i.e. Judah P. Benjamin. So you guys collaborate with the Jews to subjugate and oppress us, and then you try to blame them. It's almost like somebody is on the ground and they're getting jumped. The Jews are stomping you out and the Anglos are stomping you out, but you're trying to blame the Jews. Both of y'all were kicking me while I'm down, but you only want me to blame them. And then you're trying to say, no, they're not like us. Okay, where's the Jewish box on the U.S. Census? In 2030, they'll have a box called MENA, Middle Eastern North African. You mean to tell me that Jews don't have enough money, influence, and moxie to get Jew as a racial ethnic group on the census? And if they could do it, why haven't they done it? Because Jewish is not a race. And for all the people that say race is a social construct, guess what else is a social construct? Religion is a social construct. Ethnicity is a social construct. Creating a nation is a social construct, as well as race is a social construct. So we can't try to say that, hey, let me reject one social construct in favor of another social construct. So if we're talking about race, right, there is no race called Jewish. Now you can try to say, no, I'm talking ethnically, but show me the census. And I might have to pull it up if you keep going down, this line of logic and continuously lying. There's no box on there to check Jewish. So what box do most of them check? White. So why wouldn't I call them how they're legally, socially, and racially classified? Who am I to go against the will of the people?
Racial is because if you look at per capita crime stats, African Americans tend to commit certain crimes that other ethnicities don't commit. And I mean, you can blame that on, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that doesn't mean that gives you the right to racially profile somebody. That doesn't mean that.
See, I disagree.
You can just go up.
Well, I disagree because actually law enforcement, and now you see it with ICE, racial profiling is one of their best tactics when it comes to arresting criminals. Like they will even tell you that in certain states, they'll get rid of the law where they can't racially profile.
And this is where the commentary gets extremely cowardly. And why is Brian Shapiro not going to bring this up? Because they were talking about marginalized groups, right? The Latino gangs are bigger, more organized, and more violent. Have you ever heard of a Crip necktie? A blood necktie? No, but you've heard of a Colombian necktie where they slit the throat and pull the tongue through. That seems extremely violent. There's no Black American Crips doing that. The Mexican cartel chopping off heads and hanging them on telephone poles. Find me one story of an American Crip or Blood doing that. So once again, Tren de Aragua, MS-13. These gangs are much more brutal, barbaric, and violent. They're all Hispanic Latino gangs. This is part of their culture, but nobody calls it a culture of degeneracy. No one is saying who raised these people. Are these gang members born out of wedlock? Did these gang members have both parents or a fatherless home? Why is no one talking about that? All of the Asian communities that have a illicit massage parlor, they say the black community is low IQ and you guys have no wealth or resources. So that means that we don't own any illicit massage parlors, right? But there is a group that does. Why don't you guys ever talk about them? Doesn't that seem like a cultural thing for a particular demographics to continuously have gangs and be associated with human trafficking and illicit, sometimes pedo massage parlors? Whose culture is that? And who raised the people in there?
And the arrests go down.
Are you saying are you saying you're against the Fourth Amendment?
Listen, I of course I'm not against the Fourth Amendment, but if you see a guy,
another low IQ lunatic comment. He's watching a video where two white dudes, there's no black dudes around, yet they brought up black people multiple times. And he said he never hear white dudes talk about black people. JD Vance has talked about black people. Trump has just recently shared a meme where he has two black people as gorillas and monkeys. Stephen Miller is always talking about black people. Nick Fuentes, who I call Nick Fruit Fuentes, is always talking about black people. So traveling lamp, why are you traveling liar? Why are you lying? Is this the best the high IQs have to offer? Is this what Jesus would do? Lie and obfuscate?
and he's in a big car and there's, weed smoke coming out of it and they're listening to a bunch of gangster rap music, maybe that they are doing something nefarious. I don't understand why that's, if they are committing a crime and they get caught, it's not because of the race, it's because they were doing a crime.
So most rap music is bought and consumed by white dudes. Who do you think is more likely to have pounds of weed? A black dude or a white dude, right? So the white dude with pounds of weed listening to rap music, this dude doesn't think he should be racially profiled. But if you're a black dude who probably has an eighth of weed, but you're playing loud music, then you should be racially profiled. Hey bro, you're probably doing something wrong. Yeah, just like the white dude is probably doing something wrong. Who do you think has more guns in this country? White dudes or black dudes? So white dudes have more guns, they have more pounds of weed, they have more money, but somehow the target is a poor black dude who was smoking an eighth of weed. We need to treat him as if he was Bin Laden.
And if they weren't committing a crime, they wouldn't go to jail. Like, cops don't go arrest black people for just being black. They might get pulled over for being black, but they don't go to jail for being black. You see the difference?
Yeah, but
they might get pulled over for being black. Oh, no problem, dude. They just got pulled over because they're black. Yeah, that's racial profiling and systemic racism. He says systemic racism for blacks ended in the 60s, but then he just said that cops will pull someone over because they're black. You're supposed to pull someone over because you suspect that they're guilty. But he said they get pulled over because they're black. Yeah, they call that DWB, driving while black. So here he is. He's such a low IQ lunatic who thinks that he's high IQ. He's making the argument for systemic racism that he said didn't exist. How idiotic could you be? Is Brian Shapiro going to call this out? And Brian Shapiro is debating dudes like this all day, but he's debating someone else that looks like him, so he's only going to go so far. How is he protecting black people again? Oh, I forgot. He doesn't care about black people. Just his butt buddy Don Lemon.
Of course, I'm not against the Fourth Amendment, but if you see a guy and he's in a big car and there's, weed smoke coming out of it and they're listening to a bunch of gangster rap music, maybe that they are doing something nefarious. I don't understand why that's, if they are committing a crime and they get caught, it's not because of the race, it's because they were doing a crime. If they weren't committing a crime, they wouldn't go to jail. Like, cops don't go arrest black people for just being black. They might get pulled over for being black, but they don't go to jail for being black. You see the difference?
Yeah, but that's insane. That's like me saying, if I hear somebody listening to country music, does that mean they're in the Klan? If I listen to somebody listening to Kanye West, Should I assume that they're a Nazi? No, of course not. That would be ridiculous. Just because somebody.
Well, time out. Well, I have to cut you off. If you listen to Kanye West, everybody is considered an anti-Semite now, so you know that. I mean, that is
perhaps. But
look at those guys in that nightclub. Yeah, I get your point. But I'm just saying, I think racial profiling, when it comes to law enforcement, it's a tool that they use, and when they take away that tool, it does give criminals the opportunity to go commit crimes a little easier. But
yeah, well, I disagree with you. I want everyone treated the same. I want everybody treated the same with the law, whether it's black people, white people. I don't care. MAGA, Democrat. Everybody should be treated on the same scale. And that's not what's happening in this country. And it's certainly not what's happening in Minneapolis. But going back to Don Lemon, who happens to be a black gay man, he didn't break any laws. He wasn't protesting. He didn't break the FACE Act. You had to have been protesting or disrupting. He didn't do any of that stuff. I just debated Benny Johnson on this on Piers Morgan today. It's a joke. These charges are not going to hold up. It'd be tough to just even get him on a trespassing charge. Okay, let alone
Brian,
the other serious
real
charges.
quick. I have to cut you off a little bit, though. These people were trying to have a church service, and he was part of a mob that ran in there and cut off the church service. Even the Westboro Baptist Church, which is disgusting. No, okay, real quick. But you know the Westboro Baptist Church, you've heard of them. They go and protest, and they say the most disgusting thing. They say our military veterans are going to go to hell. They don't even go and disrupt a church service. If I walked into a mosque and shut it down, I would go to jail. So I don't understand how you cannot see that he stopped it.
Alex,
what I'm saying, he stopped them from having
he didn't.
a church service.
No, he didn't. This is where you're wrong, Alex. I am not defending the actual protesters. That is against the law. You're not allowed to protest on private property. You're certainly not allowed to protest in a religious sanctuary. Don Lemon was not doing that. You see it all on video. He was live the whole time. He wasn't protesting. He wasn't disrupting anybody. All the man simply did was take out his phone.
He was talking. Wait, Brian, he was talking to the pastor. He was talking to the pastor while the pastor was trying to do the church. This clip right here, he's like, please leave. So whether it's an interview or not, he's still disrupting the service because he's holding a camera phone. I don't think that really negates the fact that he interrupted it. So you're saying that you can't interrupt. Okay, Brian.
And which gangs are you talking about? Traveling land? Yeah, because many of those Latino gangs, many of them are funded by the state. And just like there were a lot of black gangs, because think about this, whether it be Medgar Evers was assassinated by a Klansman for trying to register black people to vote. Fred Hampton was trying to push a rainbow coalition to bring everyone together. He wasn't pushing crime, degeneracy, or anything like that. So notice how people from the dominant society, they always assassinate people who they believe is a black messiah who will uplift people, but they never assassinate the gang leaders. Why is that, right? They complain about the gang leaders and talk about the culture of degeneracy. Well, if the gang leaders are so bad, y'all have all sorts of militarized weapons, drones, flashbangs, tasers that can hit you. Why won't y'all go assassinate these gang leaders? Now, I'm not advocating for a police state and for the police to just be lawlessly taking out U.S. citizens, but this is who they complain about all the time. MLK was a preacher. He was pushing non-violent protests, and the only thing that he wanted was to come to Washington to get our check. And they said, oh, hell no. We don't want this dude that's this powerful and influential to influence black people to think that they owe that we owe them something. Yeah, we do owe them something, but instead of getting the masses behind that sentiment, we're just going to assassinate them. So instead of pushing out the figures who wanted to enfranchise the community, they'll uplift someone who wants to destroy the community and complain about the community being destroyed. If you don't want the community to look like how it is, why won't you uplift people that won't sell out the community? People that are willing to stay in the community and build the community up from ground up. Why do those people always seem to get assassinated? But the people tearing down the community, they're allowed to run amok, right? They'll say this some musty, crusty, dusty nigga from the hood. That's black culture. But Fred Hampton isn't black culture. MLK isn't black culture. Activism, us standing up and crashing out for everybody else, which I disagree with. Somehow that's not black culture. We were fighting for civil rights, which was the original All Lives Matter, because it was supposed to be for us. Instead, it went to all lives, marginalized groups, overlooked groups, people of color. But it was supposed to be for us. And we said, you know what? Injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. And all of these other groups, when they were lining up to take the resources that came off of our blood, sweat, and tears, they said, stop complaining, stop begging the government, while they had their hand out to the government for goodies, giveaways, and guarantees.
And you're saying that you can interrupt a church service as long as you're being a journalist, then that gives you the ability to stop people from worshiping?
No, the people that interrupted the church service were the actual protesters. And after the protest started, that is when Don Lemon decided to interview the pastor when he was not in the middle of the service, when the service was clearly over or interrupted. It is almost going to be impossible for prosecutors to prove that Don Lemon was a part of that protest in that fashion. I guarantee you these charges will not hold up. And by the way, legal experts on the right and the left, for the most part, agree with me. And I also find it interesting that so many people on the right want to throw Don Lemon in jail because a church service was interrupted. I don't believe it was his fault, but yet they don't want a full investigation into Jonathan Ross after he shoots a 37-year-old woman in the face. Nothing to see here, ladies and gentlemen. I find it very problematic. And by the way, Don Lemon didn't storm a church. If you want to talk about people who stormed something, go back to January 6th when all those people stormed.
You and I argue real quick, Brian. You and I argue so much. But Brian, real quick, we got to go to break. But you know that there was FBI agents there. The FBI will not even tell us how many agents are there. And they have a thing where they're called agent provocateurs. So they have an FBI agent go there and cause a bunch of drama. So it looks like it's a bunch of MAGA people when it's not MAGA people and it's the FBI. I get.
Okay, so here they go, lying again and saying that it's the FBI. If it is the FBI, who's in charge of the FBI? It goes back to people that look like them, but they don't want to take any accountability. That he's talking about per capita. Per capita, it's people that look like him. So it looks like there is still some people in the chat. I was going to shut it down, so I'll probably bring up one more video, and then we can get ready to shut her down because it seems like the chat is chatting. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world. Y'all chose to be here with me, at least momentarily, and for that I thank you. So let's see which other video I'm going to pull up right here. Just give me one moment. So there is I'll pull this video up here. There's still people that are up in arms about the meme that Trump shared, which I call it the monkey meme. So I'll pull up that video. I'll react to the CNN panel. And this is a reaction video from a channel called Couch Politics. If you want to watch the video uninterrupted, it's titled Republican Pundit Unleashes on Trump and Republicans Racism in Heated Panel. Now, Couch Politics, he does make good content only because he clips up the more meat and potatoes of the CNN so that they're easily digestible and that you can react to. However, he definitely is a Democrat shill. He never calls out the Democrats. It's always the Republican boogeyman. The Republicans are racist, and which I concur, but he never calls out the Democratic racism. So let's fast forward this a little bit and we can get into the video.
These effing people deserve no mercy, no peace, no remorse, no effing daylight, only darkness. I'll do everything in my lifetime to assure that happens. Let's get into this segment and we'll talk about it.
Because as anyone who watches regularly, you know that we often cover things out of the White House that are shocking, it might be offensive, it might be unprecedented, norm-breaking. Today is really just beyond. Overnight, the president's Truth Social feed shared a racist video It shows former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama as apes. We are going to show you a screenshot. See it to believe it, but we want to give you the warning. It's racist, it's offensive, it's vile, but also let's not look away. So here it is. This is a video, this was a video that included this image, and it was shared.
So Traveling says we're going to have to do something about MAGA once Trump is gone. We're not going to have a country if these people hold on to their positions. So when you say we're not going to have a country, what exactly do you mean by that? As if the country is just going to poof, vanish, disappear, or it's going to look like some sort of dystopian reality? Because right now we're in a crony capitalist system, and they're trying to push it more back to a feudalist system. That's what the dominant society default system is a feudalistic system. So look up techno-feudalism. They're already trying to do this in the digital virtual realm, and now they're just trying to do it in polite society, push it back to feudal society, where it's ruled by kings, queens, nobles, lords, and the rest peasants. So that would be the rank and file, the proletariat. You know what I mean? So could you elaborate on what you mean by we won't have a country anymore?
Shared on the social media feed of the sitting president of the United States. Now, the White House did take the video down. It took them about 12 hours. Sources tell CNN Republican lawmakers were calling President Trump this morning as the video received universal bipartisan condemnation. Tim Scott, who is the only Black Republican senator, tweeted this, quote, "Praying it was fake because it's the most racist thing I've seen out of this White House. The president should remove it," end quote. In explaining the removal, a senior administration official told CNN, quote, "A White House staffer erroneously made the post. It has been taken down," end quote.
Get the F
Okay,
out
so
of
they
here.
now say it was an error. If that's the case, why did the White House press secretary defend it just hours before? In a statement to CNN before the video was removed, Caroline Leavitt said this, quote, "This is from an internet meme video depicting President Trump as king of the jungle and Democrats as characters from The Lion King. Please stop the fake outrage and report on something today that actually matters to the American public."
And I got bitched at in my own comments for calling that dirty bitch, Carolyn Leavitt, Miss Piggy. I don't ever want to hear you guys in my comments talking shit about that again. Look at who these people are.
Quote. Just remembering that this doesn't come out of nowhere. It doesn't come out of context. One of Donald Trump's first obsessions in national politics was to question then President Barack Obama's citizenship and use that to raise doubts about his patriotism.
Would you like your own Shopify store built for you completely free? My brother Adrian and I were...
I want him to show his birth certificate. There's something on that birth certificate that he doesn't like.
People have birth certificates. He doesn't have a birth certificate. Now, he may have one, but there's something on that birth, maybe religion, maybe it says he's a Muslim. I don't know. And if he wasn't born in this country, which is a real possibility, I'm not saying it happened. I'm saying it's a real possibility.
A lot of people do not think it was an authentic certificate. Many people do not think it was authentic. His mother was not in the hospital. There were many other things that came out.
All right, let's get off the sidelines, head into the arena. My panel's here, CNN legal analyst Elliot Williams, political reporter and author Molly Ball, former DNC Communications Director Mo Alithi, and former RNC Communications Director Doug High. Welcome to all of you. Elliot, you want to weigh in on this?
Oh, yeah. Look, I'm just so glad that your opening here used the word racist and not a troubling video or an unfortunate video or a video with racial overtones. It's racist on its face. And anyone who's asked about it should be able to look you in the eye and say the president shared something racist. Thank God he took it down. Thank God Tim Scott had the good sense to not try to say, well, maybe someone else did it. Maybe it was whatever. And I just think there's such an impulse
Tim Scott's response was pathetic. He said that this was probably the most racist thing that he's seen from the Trump administration, and the president should remove it. So basically, he's saying that he should take it down. Okay, and what happens when he takes it down? I gotta say, you know when they said, you know how they say, what would Jesus do? No, I say, what would Jews do? What would the Jews do if this was something about them? What would Asians do, right? Heads would roll. We would say, oh my God, you're putting Asian people at risk. What is worse? Trump saying the China virus and Kung flu, right? Or depicting black people as a known racist trope, as monkeys, right? There were a bunch of people that were telling people, hey man, if you don't like it here, go back to your country. That was considered a hate crime during COVID. They were saying Asian people were under attack. When you look at the COVID-19 hate crime bill, guess who was the leading group that were victimized by hate crimes? It was black people. Yet they passed the COVID-19 hate crime bill, framed it as some all lives matter bill, but they specifically denounced Asian hate in there 14 times. And that year that they passed it, black people were the leading victims of hate crimes. And guess who was the leading perpetrator of hate crimes against Asians? It was white people. Instead, they blamed the black people, largely from videos in New York where there were some people that had a thick accent, a janky hairline. So those people were melanated, but they weren't really black. They were a bunch of immigrants from who knows, the Caribbean, African, the Dominican Republic, but they just got framed, the Dominican Republic, they got framed as black people attacking Asians when it was mostly white people. Trump, who talked about the China virus, white. Who talked about Kung flu, white. And not only that, many of those crimes were actually incidents. So they pushed in the media, stop anti-Asian hate crimes. But when it came to the legislation, they talked about hate incidents. And some of those incidents were people saying, go back to your country. There were 2 black teenage girls who got arrested and sent to jail in San Francisco, charged with a hate crime because some Chinese people were yelling at them in whatever their language is, Mandarin. And they said, hey, won't y'all just go back to China if y'all don't like it here? They were charged with a hate crime. That's considered a hate incident. And that's supposed to be the same as the brutality where black people were being unalived. You know, we're supposed to get over being called nigger, but if you said that someone has the Kung flu, then we have to pass legislation for them. So, like I said, what would Jews do? They would need a check, they would need reparations, but when this happens to black people, it's just like, get over it, right? So these should be the standards that we have when every group is aggrieved.
Oh, you know, maybe someone else did it. Maybe it was whatever. And I just think there's such an impulse to try to paper over some of these things. And this is on its face just so extreme that just has no place in civil society. I'm sorry.
Well, and I think one of the things that
it has a lot of place in this society. Tim Scott, like Jojo said, you're just a little too.
Yeah, we have to stop pretending like we've never seen this before. Do you guys remember the Willie Horton ad? If you don't, just look up the infamous Willie Horton ad. You guys remember Reagan talking about welfare queen? So yeah, I mean, no one is saying that this one is the same or this one is worse or anything like that. What I'm saying is they're all similar sentiments. Anti-black bigotry has always been pervasive in this country. So to pretend like we've never seen anything like this is an extreme and a disgusting form of gaslighting.
And I hate these, and he's right, the word that they try to use, racially insensitive. That's the one I hear a lot from media. It's racially insensitive. Yeah, just a little insensitive. Don't be so sensitive. And Tim Scott, sure, good job. You finally
So this makes it even worse, right? If C-19 actually did come from China, Trump called it the China virus and Kung flu, but somehow that's considered a hate incident. It seems like a certain privilege for certain demographics. As much as they try to say, there's black privilege, seems to be a lot of immigrant privilege, a lot of J privilege, a lot of Asian privilege. You guys have black fatigue, remember?
Took a second to take the boot out of the races out of your mouth for once. But I'm sorry, you were part of what excused Trump's behavior over and over. You, the Byron Donalds, the Candace Owens, the Sir Michael Singletons, the Cartier family, the Officer Tatum, the Hodge twins, all you.
So Asians weren't even being attacked like that, and no one has to take my word for it. Look it up. Like literally, it was less than like 30 incidents. Literally less than 30, and I'm rounding up. Think about how many millions and millions and millions of people are in New York, and it was less than 30 incidents against Asians. Largely it wasn't hate crimes, it was incidents, people saying being worse to Asians. Get out of here, Kung flu. Some people may have said, they have chinky eyes or said some things like that. You Asians can't drive or stuff. Okay, cool. People shouldn't be saying bigoted, mean things. But they get a whole anti-Asian hate crime bill, and not only millions, hundreds of millions of dollars allocated to specifically Asian organizations. It didn't go to people of color. It didn't go to marginalized groups. It went specifically to Asians. And this was bipartisan. Both parties came together and said, yes, we have to do this for Asians. When it comes to foundational Black American freedmen who were instrumental in building the country, no, we're not giving you niggers anything, but Asian immigrants, well, yeah, they're the model minority, so we have to protect them. Okay.
Tim Scott, like JoJo said, you're just a little too late. And I hate these, and he's right. The word that they try to use, racially insensitive. That's the one I hear a lot from media. It's racially insensitive. You're just a little insensitive. Don't be so sensitive. And Tim Scott, sure, good job. You finally took a second to take the boot out of the races out of your mouth for once. But I'm sorry, you were part of what excused Trump's behavior over and over. You, the Byron Donalds, the Candace Owens, the Sir Michael Singletons, the Cartier family, the Officer Tatum, the Hodge twins, all you mother effers, sellouts. You are all part of how we.
This I do concur with, and this is why you hear a lot of the MAGA maniacs always constantly talking about a civil war. People are over here, it's just like, dude, I'm just trying to feed my family. I'm trying to live the American dream, the old American dream. Now the American dream is just for immigrants to come over here. Immigrants, you're seeking a better life. That's the American dream, and don't complain because you come from a shithole country. That's what the American dream had turned into. But the American dream was supposed to be for Americans foremost, and people would be able to own a home, have a beautiful family, and of course you gotta have a white picket fence. But now that's not even the dream. Now they're telling you the American dream is you will own nothing and be happy.
I'm sorry, you were part of what excused Trump's behavior over and over. You, the Byron Donalds, the Candace Owens, the Sir Michael Singletons, the Cartier family, the Officer Tatum, the Hodge twins, all you mother effers, sellouts. You are all part of how we get here. Excusing him using DEI as a racial slur. All these idiots excuse it and still effing excuse it. Byron Donalds is being called a slave and all kinds of racially insensitive talk against him, and he refuses to push back. A black man, Byron Donald, called Trump daddy.
Byron Donalds is a tether. He is a broken tether, and he's one of the reasons why we had to delineate. See, people are used to just having us be one big global Negro. But no, we're not doing that, right? Because when you look at Asians, they're not all one big Asian. You can't call them that, right? Chinese people delineate from Japanese people. They delineate from Korean people, Filipino, Thai, Cambodian, and there's nothing wrong with that. Why should their culture be erased under a banner of just being a generic Asian? So with us, they try to say, yeah, yeah, you're American, but nah, you're really a generic African from some stateless place that didn't even exist when your ancestors were building here. You know what I mean? And we're saying, no, we're not doing that, right? We are foundational Black American freedmen, descendants of U.S. American chattel slavery, right? That's different than someone that comes from Ghana, from Senegal, from Congo, from Jamaica, from Panama. Now, nobody is saying that, hey, we are just inherently and magically better because we have a specific and distinct lineage, but we are saying that disaggregation is needed. Delineation is mandatory, and distinction is the only way forward. If somebody makes jerk chicken, I don't think that should be framed as Black culture, just a generic Black culture. No, that's Jamaican culture. They need ethnic and intellectual sovereignty and cultural specificity. Same thing with Jewish people. No one looks at them as one big Jew. Hey, you're Jewish, he, she Jewish, like y'all all are one big Jew. No, they have Ashkenazi, they have Sephardic, they have Mizrahi, Hasidic. They delineate, they disaggregate. Hasidic Jews don't want you calling them Sephardic Jews. So when we're saying we're foundational Black Americans and you're saying you're just like the Jamaicans, no, actually we're not. They have a separate and distinct culture, which is beautiful and which is rich. The only way for us to understand that is to draw the distinction. Pretending that we're all the same is a form of erasure. And we are entitled to our cultural, intellectual, and ethnic sovereignty. A jaguar and a leopard look the same. They are not the same cat. An orange looks like a grapefruit. It's not the same fruit.
How effing dare you call him daddy now, Byron?
When they see peace starting to like break out again around the world, they're going to be like, this is the stability that we were asking for. Daddy's back. So, and that's what you're going to see.
So you just touched.
Yes, like this person says, 2,300 distinct ethnic groups amongst the Asian world, right? Which is why they delineate. They don't want to be called one big Asian. So people understand delineation and distinction. So no one should start acting goofy when we talk about
it. On it is tomorrow.
You all created this permission structure, partly. Well, look, we have these Black people who don't care how we speak about them. You're just being soft. A snowflake is what they would say. Where were any of...
Did you see when they used FBA in a news segment for Black History Month, denoting the many contributions we made to civilization, saying society truly minimizes our impact? Yes, and I was going to actually do a video about that and cover the video that Professor Black Truth did. I didn't watch the video yet, but also what they did was they put it up there, but then they took it down because people have tried to frame FBA as some sort of group and cult and all this other stuff, but all it is just another name for the lineage. Instead of someone being called African American, people are saying, hey, I prefer the term foundational Black American. It's a much more airtight term. It's a better descriptive term. When you're looking at nebulous terms like African American, most FBAs have never been to Africa and they probably never will go to Africa. There's something called an ethnogenesis, and y'all can look this up. Don't take my word for it. Look how long it takes, and I can pull this stuff up in real time. All depends on how the chat is responding, right? But yes, once a group becomes with certain admixtures, they become a different ethnic group. So someone in the Congo who's only procreating with other Congolese people or other people from that part of the diaspora is going to have different heritage, different culture, different phenotypes than someone that's a foundational Black American, which is an amalgamated group that is formerly enslaved African, indigenous people, and European people. It's the amalgamation of those entire groups, which makes it extremely distinct, and which is why they start breaking it down to a science, and why they have, like, you know, terms like mulatto, octoroon, quadroon, etc., because they were making different races and ethnic constructs here. But the reason why is a lot of people, they like to have us under this generic African American, because it allows people to leash and tether onto the accomplishments and then discard it. And it's extremely nebulous, so there aren't really it's hard for people to draw a line in the sand. And that's why people say, you know what, I don't know anything about Africa. And when you go over to Africa, you're considered American. So we're leaning into our American lineage. And the thing is, once we start leaning in more, we'll see that we all didn't come from Africa. Did some of us come from Africa? Yes. Many of us didn't. It's just mathematically impossible. But you're not supposed to ask questions, right? You're supposed to just take whatever story. This is why they keep pushing that we're a nation of immigrants and the nation was built by immigrants, to try to frame us as immigrants. But no, we're not. If you claim that there were indigenous people here, clearly they're not immigrants, even though they did actually immigrate from Siberia and other parts of Asia, right? That's immigration. But fine, okay, you're saying they're indigenous. If you're saying the nation was built by immigrants, and I'll do another segment on this, right? You're essentially saying that the indigenous people didn't build a damn thing. So if that's what you're saying, won't you say it straight up? And if you're saying they did build something, why are you lying and saying that it was built by immigrants? The people came over here who were colonial settlers, right? They came over here with the purpose of displacing and conquering, right? Which is why they say, hey, we didn't steal the land, we conquered it, right? That's not immigration. They came over here with barbarous proclivities. And then, of course, you got the indigenous foundational Black Americans, some who were brought here in chains and others who were already here and were just reclassified as Negro. That's not immigration. Even if you say that all of us came from Africa, which we didn't, there's no definition that you can find, whether it's Oxford's Merriam, you can use ChatGPT, Google, whatever. Forcibly kidnapping someone, human trafficking, and hostage taking, by no definition, is immigration. So yeah, you know, people, there's a war on us, on our intellectual sovereignty, because they don't want us to be able to name ourselves. They want this term that people can just tether. Elon Musk can consider himself African American. He's South African, emphasis on the African, and he's American, right? French Montana can consider himself African American. Who's a Moroccan, what, Arab? He's African. He's more African than me, and he's American. Tether, Amadou Fudil, also known as Myron Gaines or Myron Lames. He wanted to sound Black, so he changed his name to Myron Gaines. What sounds more Black, Myron Gaines or Amadou Fudil? You know what I mean? He's African American. So it's like, you know what? We're done with this term. And not only that, that's a relatively new term. That term came in the late 80s, thanks to the DNC, a bunch of Jews, and the Buck Broken Boule. We weren't calling ourselves that. When Martin Luther King got assassinated, he didn't get assassinated as an African American. When Malcolm X got assassinated, he didn't get assassinated as an African American. If you were born before 1988, which were many in this chat, you weren't born as an African American. And here's this person who says, what is this dude talking about? Like, if you just coming in and you don't understand, I'm gonna just go ahead and put you on a timeout, because if you don't know what people are talking about, usually you come in and listen and try to figure out what's being said. You don't come in and say, do stupid stuff, LMAFO. It's like, dude, could you actually spell without abbreviated? So don't even trip, right? low IQ comments like this, they don't have no place here. So go sit in the corner, bruh. Eat a mayonnaise sandwich and think about your imbecility.
These guys speaking back when they called Kamala a DI candidate and slept her way to the top. Where was it? Where were they when Trump said Haitians are eating cats and dogs? Now they're pushing back like we said they will because of the election year. And Trump is a lame duck. These people are vile. I give Tim Scott zero effing credit.
Underscores the point that you're making is, I mean, the number of times, certainly when I was a Hill reporter, would ask, Republicans.
Yeah, which is why they let the immigrants in 2030 create a category called MENA, Middle Eastern North African. So they don't mind doing that, but FBA, they don't want us creating a group because they feel like, hey, you guys are trying to think for yourself. They see that as a threat to their, chokehold on the Democratic Party. That's all this is about.
Republicans to weigh in on what the president was doing, and so often they hadn't seen the tweet. Let's read through a list of some of the things that Republicans have been saying today about this. We showed you Tim Scott praying it was fake. It's the most racist thing I've ever seen about the White House. The president should remove it. Roger Wicker, this is totally unacceptable. The president should take it down and apologize. Pete Ricketts, even if this was a Lion King meme, a reasonable person sees the racist context to this. The White House should do what anyone does when they make a mistake, remove this and apologize. Mike Lawler, wrong, incredibly offensive, whether intentional or a mistake, it should be deleted immediately with an apology offered. Doug High, this seems to be a remarkable new reality for Republicans, but it seems to underscore Elliot's point, which is anyone with two eyes can see this.
Well, those other groups, I know Black Poppy. I'm not Black, I'm Haitian. I'm not Black, I'm Dominican. I'm not Black, I'm Nigerian. So all of these other groups, they used to say that they're not Black. Here's one of the stupidest things they used to say. Why y'all call yourselves Black? It ain't no country called Black. It ain't no country called white, but white supremacy is dominating your country. White, could anyone point me to the country called white? So that the just statement doesn't even make sense. There's no country called Africa either, but you want me to be super African? Why? There's no country called Africa, right? Oh yeah, it's a continent. Yeah, but we're talking about countries, and there's no country called Africa. And they try to make you be some distant generic African, claim a part of the land that you've never been to. You know what I mean? But they don't do that with all these other groups. They say that the alleged Native Americans immigrated from Siberia. So what race are they then? Right? They apparently are Asiatics. So is that their race? No, they're indigenous, but there's no race called indigenous, and there's no race called Native American. Before we came over here, there was no America until foundational Black Americans and, of course, colonial settlers built it. So what were they calling themselves before that? How could they be Native American when they didn't even call themselves before we built America? And again, there's no race called Seminole. There's no race called Choctaw. There's no race called Cherokee. So what race are these people? A lot of these people look like Elizabeth Warren. They're Native American. Yeah, I didn't ask you about their ethnic group or their tribal identification. I asked what race they are. But suddenly you can't get an answer, right? So people like to play these games back and forth. They use race when it's convenient and ethnicity and tribes when it's convenient. Nah. I want to know about race, because when they say Black, they're usually talking about race, even though Black is our ethnonym. That's why many people say, hey, if you ain't from America, if you ain't FBA, you ain't really Black. And people say that's divisive, but they try to forget that there were decades after decades where people kept saying, I'm not Black, I'm Caribbean. I'm not Black, I'm Afro-Latino. Okay, fine. You're not Black, and then they try to say that you can't gatekeep Blackness. And this person talks about Elizabeth Warren, 1/1000th Native American. Yeah, well, where's the Native Americans who were outraged about Pocahontas? And there's people, the $5 Indians from the Dawes Roads, right? and they'll say that they're natives, but this is a question that no one asks them. What race are they? Elizabeth Warren, 1/1000th Native American. What race is Elizabeth Warren? Don't tell me her tribe. Don't tell me her ethnic background. I want to know what her race is. And then people start telling you it's a social construct. Well, so is tribes. Tribes are social constructs. Ethnicities are social construct. Religion is social construct. How far do we want to take this with the social construct battle?
Look, the reality is they've always seen the tweets. They just don't want to admit to seeing them.
Yeah.
This is so soul-crushingly racist that you can't hide from it. And there may be caveats. You pray that it's fake. The president can't take it down if it's fake, obviously. We know how bad this is. And it comes in a long time of context, as you played with the video from The View and other shows. I remember being in HC5 in the basement of the Capitol at House Republican Conference meeting, and Louis Gohmert, to be clear, one of the leading morons of our generation politically, started making Kenya jokes. And it got eye rolls and groans, but that wasn't enough. And John Boehner told him to shut up and sit down. And even that's not enough because this stuff never goes away. There's also a political problem with this. If you're a Republican, if you're Richard Hudson at the NRCC and you're trying to get your better and smarter candidates through the primary and you're trying to coach them on how to talk about things that matter to Americans every day.
So hold on, let me pull this up real quick because sincere, I was trying to get ready to shut it down, but y'all gonna have me go in because a lot of people were saying FBAs is divisive, right? And they trying to say Kamami is black. But as soon as you pull this up, Kamala Harris is the first Asian American to serve as vice president. Harris has long embraced her Indian American and Asian American. No, she's a she's a sister girl. Yes, queen, you go, girl. Because she went to Howard? No, she went to Howard to get her black bona fides up. She always identified as Asian. It's just the Asian community doesn't really accept her like that. They use her to get things passed like the anti-Asian hate crime bill. There's a lot of colorism in that Asian society, but that's who she cares. And her mother's name was Shamala Gopalan Harris. Shamala Gopalan Harris. And her mom was classified as white. Now you can say that her mom isn't white, so why was she allowed to classify herself as white then? Right? And this is where the MAGA maniacs, they start saying that, oh, people are being misidentified. Well, hey, you guys are in charge, right? You're the high IQs, you have the wealth, power, resources, influence. Why are you allowing alleged non-white people to classify as white? And her dad, they always talk about that her dad is Jamaican. Her dad is Jamaican Indian, and they try to say, oh, her dad is black. But they're like, no, there's no record of her dad identifying as black. He always says he's Jamaican, but there's no race called Jamaican. So yeah, Kamami, she only turns black when she wants to win an election. And then when she wins, she thanks her Asian side for it. So y'all see it here, Kamala Harris, first Asian American to serve as vice president. But I thought she was blackity, black. Okay.
Every day. Prices, jobs, the economy. Here comes Donald Trump yet effing again as a one-man wrecking ball, stopping Republicans from doing what they should do to win elections and save the House of Representatives if you want to help Donald Trump not get impeached and everything else that could happen in the last 2 years of his primary. It makes no sense at all.
Thank you for that, Doug. One other, sort of piece we have here is how this is breaking through with, I I guess we should call this person a politically tuned in American, but still a voter, someone who called into C-SPAN this morning. I am a longtime fan and patron of C-SPAN, but they have a call-in show in the morning, if you're not familiar, and it's a really special piece of Americana, I have to say. But this particular call stood out because this was from a Republican who called in saying they had voted for Trump. They're upset about the video. Let's watch.
Hey, it's the Super Bowl this Sunday.
And actually, I don't know if I was on mute, but shout out to the lovely Lotus Ty and built it. Just in case you didn't hear me before, it looked like my mic was muted. So just so we clear. But I'm going to shut it down pretty soon. So salute to all of y'all that's here viewing this concurrently. You could be anywhere in the world. You chose to be here with me, at least momentarily. And for that, I thank you.
Josh, I mean, I'm looking at this awful picture of the Obamas. What an embarrassment to our country. All this man does is tell lies. He is not worthy of the presidency. He takes bribes blatantly, and now he's being a racist.
This is correct. And for some reason, people act like they don't understand that. The free Palestine. Yeah, Palestinians come over here classified as white. Jillian Michaels, I'm Syrian, I'm Arab. There's no race called Syrian or Arab. Jillian Michaels, white. Someone like Anna Kasparian, I'm Armenian. There's no race called Armenian. Anna Kasparian, white. People already know these things, and then they just try to play these games. Hey, we didn't make the rules. We didn't make the construct. I'm just adhering to it just like everyone else is.
Blatantly.
During Black History Month, none the effing less. You think that's an accident? These people are discussing. There's a real problem with this party. There's a real problem with this country.
Mo Lethe, that from, someone who says they supported the president. Remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, we all remember 10 years ago or so when Donald Trump was running for president the first time, and he said, I could walk down the middle of Fifth Avenue, shoot someone in the face, and my people will still be with me. I don't know that we're going to see a wholesale abandonment of him here, but we are starting to see that some people's patience has just worn thin. And you see that in the response from some of the Republicans on the Hill. You hear that from that voter. You see it in the poll numbers. Donald Trump doesn't walk on water, it appears, even with his most ardent supporters. I think the problem here, besides posting something completely racist, and Elliot, you ended your comments by saying, I'm sorry. That's more than we've heard from this White House today.
Yeah.
Right? They still have not apologized. There's something about Donald Trump that has created a culture amongst those around him that they think it's okay to post this. They think that it's fine to post this. And when they get the blowback, they think it's fine to defend it, which is just as offensive to me as posting it in the first place by calling it fake outrage. That caller was not fake outrage.
Yeah.
Tim Scott was not fake outrage, and they still have not apologized.
Yeah, I'd say there's two things.
Because it's on effing purpose. Like, cut the crap. This is not a Trump-specific Trump pendejos. Start seeing Republicans when Trump is gone. Oh, racism. That's it. Him, all his minions, all his pundits spread this bigotry, these bugs.
I think this sort of memification of the White House is definitely a thing, and just anything's good to go online. It's interesting, and particularly post-2020, I think there's a lot of the discourse around race I think people often roll their eyes at, because some of it is in such a gray area when you start speaking about implicit bias and microaggressions and all that business. There is certain stuff that is just on its face not okay. I always thought that the one line in American culture and politics was the N-word. And that the sort of a public use of that would be the thing that sort of set people off. And no, I'm pretty confident it's the Obamas as monkeys, texted out by the president.
So what the hell is he even trying to say, though? What, it's okay to say the N-word, or that the N-word isn't as bad? Oh, the N-word is as bad. The N-word is bad, but it's not as bad as posting memes of monkeys. I mean, calling someone a nigger, to me, that's worse than posting memes of monkeys. Both of them are bad. So why is he trying to compare the two and say, man, I thought the N-word was bad, but this is really, really, really bad. They're all bad. So like, why are you trying to make a hierarchy of bigotry? And if you are trying to make that, then, we need to have a clear, concise hierarchy of the bigotry. And why is it always the N-word, right? There's other slurs, and that's why I got some merch coming soon. All slurs matter. Do y'all forget about the other slurs? Hypothetically, theoretically, you can use other slurs. They have ones called chink and wetback and spick, bob, fresh off the boat. There's other slurs that you can use. But don't worry, I don't mean it like that. I mean it in an endearing way. Like how when you say nigga all the time, right? There's other slurs to use. And there's the most forbidden slurs. See, people can say nigga and you can say nigger, and no one really cares. But, people get uptight when you say that F slur, and like Sincere likes to say yagged, or I say maggot, drop the M at the F. Right? How about the Jewish slur, Ike, but you put a K in front of it? Why are people so afraid to say that? All slurs matter. Why should only the black slurs reign supreme, right? I'm a man of the people, right? If people think that more people should be saying nigga and nigger because they heard it in a rap song, then we should be putting these other slurs in rap songs as well, right? It's just a word, right? Okay, well, yagged is just a word, right? Ike with a K is just a word.
The United States, that is the thing that, even if it doesn't erode support for Donald Trump, he's a popular president to many people, is the thing that no reasonable person can look at and see as anything other than just horrific and with no place.
Then for what it is.
For what it is.
Yeah. Molly Ball, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's honestly a little bit refreshing that there still is a line. And I think that.
So, Jeb, it sounds like you're kind of one of those MAGA maniacs who may possibly have Trump nuts in your mouth. So let me just make this clear to you. Trump is a bigot. Biden is a bigot. If I was choosing between the lesser of two bigots, it would be Trump. But that doesn't mean I would vote for him. Didn't vote for Biden, didn't vote for Trump. It's just Biden has a longer history of being anti-black. Trump is anti-black. It's just Biden has a beat because he has a longer history in public life being anti-black.
That initial statement from Caroline Leavitt was so telling because they don't know where the line is, and they know that this president is going to cross whatever line you set out for him. And the initial instinct is always to say that it's okay, is always to find some pretext to insist that everything he does is fine. And it's only when people are authentically outraged that they realize, oh, maybe a line has been crossed. I think she made another good point when she said that this is not what the American people care about.
It's because
that
of the
is also
effing
true.
midterms.
Like as Doug was saying, the American people would like their president to be focused on bringing down costs. The American people would like their president.
So what exactly does this mean, Roger? In '84, during a private conversation with the Washington Post reporter, Jackson referred to Jewish people as Heinees and New York City as Heine Town. What exactly does that mean?
President to be focused on, doing his job. Instead, he or someone with his phone is up at 3 a.m. posting again and again and again about the 2020 election and, putting pressure on his Justice Department and his director of national intelligence to raid ballot boxes. That is not, she's right, that is not what the American people care about in this moment.
Yeah, well, sorry, go ahead.
Look, we both ran communications department for party committees.
All right, look, I don't know who need to hear this, but my man just
staffers do and say things that they shouldn't have done. Clearly, nobody that I ever worked with or you ever worked with said anything this bad. But if a staffer has done this, then we need to identify the staffer that is going to get fired by the President of the United States for putting this on his Truth Social feed at midnight. And why any staffer has access to that is another question. So there are two other failures here.
Can I also just say, respectable leadership in politics and in life, you don't blame the staff, okay? When you are the principal, you act like the principal and you take responsibility. You do not blame the staff.
This is purely a question I don't know the answer to. Just as a practical matter, do we really think that a staffer is tweeting fusillades of texts out from the...
Yes, Lotus Ty, you seen that right. That was a AI generated. They have a lot of these channels where it's like an AI generated and they're trying to push these, let's say, male enhancement pills so that, your man could be extra stiff in the bedroom. So yeah, they have a lot of those. And now instead of hiring actors, they just get a lot of AI people to make these AI commercials saying, here, you don't need Cialis or Levitra, get these new Blue Chews or something. Right? So yeah, but according to them, like Pac said, they'll have you harder than a nigga fresh out of jail. But who knows? I haven't popped it.
The president's Truth Social account late at night. Like, could that be the case? Or I don't know. I always thought at least those were him, but
and I will just say, his day started with his head bowed, presumably in prayer, at a prayer breakfast, and it ended with that video being shown.
Yeah, well, and I will also say, we report repeatedly here on what the president says on Truth Social, often late at night, sometimes early in the morning. And by and large, the White House does not come and say, actually, that was a staffer that said that. It was not the president. Molly Ball, I want to sort of zoom out a little bit here because, you've covered Donald Trump for at least a decade, right? If not longer.
They were little, but they keep growing and growing. And apparently once you pop them, you turn into the Energizer Bunny and keep going and going. It's going to be a long night.
And his history around this is long and complicated, or maybe not that complicated. It goes back to the Central Park Five in New York. We showed a little bit of his comments about President Obama and birtherism and making all sorts of suggestions about him in that regard. This is not a new thing with the president using race in a divisive political way.
Absolutely. It's always been.
Just want to say, Hispanics out there, people of all color, I hope you're starting to see the parallels of how they treat black people and the things that they say. When I see this, what they did with Obama and Michelle, I see it as a fucking direct attack on me as a Hispanic. Not only because I have African ancestry. You need to start seeing it as well this way, because that's how they see all of us of color, one way or another. This is what they think of us. This is what I've been saying all effing year. They see us as fucking animals, undeserving of humanity. They wanted.
We've been telling them this for how many decades, and suddenly now they want to say, oh, maybe the black people were right. Yeah, y'all thought we were just playing victims, and now they're the ones who's crying, about we're being victimized. And it's unfortunate what's happening. I don't want to live in a police state. I don't want people's rights violated. But this is really nothing compared to stop and frisk and what people were going through in the 80s and 90s and what they still go through. And I'm not trying to, what people say, oh, don't play the aggression Olympics. Okay, well, you don't do it, right? Stop trying to compare this to slave catchers if this is not the oppression Olympics, because if you do start comparing, then I have to do a comparative analysis. And during that analysis, you see that what's going on has happened to us much more violent, vile, and brutal, and for longer. So the sympathy can only extend so far. However, I don't condone any of this stuff. I outright condemn it. But then when I start looking at these other groups, they weren't condemning this treatment of us. They thought we deserved it.
To feed Hispanics to alligators, literally built a prison to do such a thing. If you think it's always just black people Trump is racist about, you're as much as the problem, as the disgusting bigots to push this kind of garbage, to just refuse and purposely blind yourself. ICE treating you.
Verse, a Republican Party that was making inroads with the multiracial working class. And we have seen all of that fall away, in part because of the approach to immigration enforcement, and in part because Donald Trump is still Donald Trump. And now, look, it is possible that there are a lot of regular people who maybe aren't as offended by this, but so much is being squandered when you have a president who insists on continuing to be as divisive as possible.
Yeah, let's flash back a little bit to some of the things that President Trump has said in his past. I mean, let's start with the debate, the most recent presidential debate in June and July of, well, the debate was in June. His comments were followed up on in July in this clip, but let's watch.
The fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from black people.
Mo, that's one example. Let's watch. Okay, so this was December 2025. This is a continuation of a remark that the president had made in his first term. Back in that first term, they didn't want to say and acknowledge in public that he had actually said what he had said. But then flash forward.
I don't know why they're playing that he's taking black job things as a gotcha moment when it actually is true. It's not that like, hey, these jobs were specifically earmarked for black people, but what he was saying in an inartful and inarticulate, incoherent way is that many of these sectors, when they tell this lie that immigrants are doing the jobs that no one wants to do, okay, that's a lie, because who were doing the jobs before they got here? And you look at those sectors and you see it was overwhelmingly foundational black American freedmen doing those jobs. Now, if they can bring someone over here and they don't have to pay the benefits, they can pay them under the table for much lower wages, they can exploit them. And there's something that I call MAE, mutually agreed exploitation. Why would they want to hire black people or American citizens that they'll have to pay American wages? So when he's talking about black jobs, people try to frame it as, oh no, he's talking about messy jobs because the immigrants only do the jobs that nobody wants to do. Okay, there's a bunch of immigrants working at McDonald's. You mean to tell me no one will work at McDonald's? A bunch of immigrants doing construction. No people will do construction. No people will do landscaping. No people will drive trucks. Who's gonna pick the fruit? Most immigrants aren't picking fruit. So why do y'all still keep saying that goofy shit? This is 2026. You know how many advanced farming equipment that could do the work that 10 immigrants can't do? This is the whole thing with automation and AI. So there's not a lot of fruit being picked, but this is how they frame it so that they can continuously displace. There's a bunch of people that will do this construction Okay, I'm back. I just had to join from my phone because it looks like my Wi-Fi went out. Usually like around this time, sometimes like the internet provider, they do some sort of maintenance with my router and it just automatically starts up. But this was coming to the end of the show anyways. So I do appreciate y'all, all of y'all viewing this live concurrently, and the people that will be watching this on the replay, gang. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world. Y'all chose to be here with me. And for that, I thank you. So yeah, I'm gonna do my rundown. You know, I'm gonna do some final visuals and then we'll get ready to shut her down. So to all of the newcomers, it won't cost you a fee. The likes are free. Hit your boy with a like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. So when we're doing these impromptu streams, you can engage with the chat and be a part of this community. You know, I definitely love and appreciate y'all. And, you know, we're just going to keep growing this community larger and larger. So let me get ready to hit these visuals and then we will be out of here. Hopefully y'all stick around to the end and I'm gonna hit y'all like so. Give me one moment. So like I said, with the likes, they are free, but in case y'all forgot, here's a friendly reminder. Time for a like intermission. We kindly request that you show love to the channel's creator and platform by leaving a like, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest content. Liking posts is completely free and helps the algorithm boost our reach. We want to grow the community larger and larger. So thank you all who take the time to support us. It does mean the world to us and doesn't go unnoticed. And to all of those, if you are feeling generous and you would like to make a financial contribution, then you can do so by...
I think it's about time you gave me my money. I need cash. Please send that money. Please send that money. Please send that money. My money. I need cash. My money. I need cash. My money.
Now, before we get up out of here, you know, I gotta hit you. Yeah. Hey. B-Eazy Dat Dude, shit so hot it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. I bring the pain like an aftermath of a car wreck. It's a lot of niggas that say they real, but to me that shit is far-fetched. Them cats is pussy. They really is on some feminine stuff. I ride up on them with the 40 ounces. It's a definition of adrenaline rush. What it do is sweet like cinnamon puffer. My niggas is rough like Willow Pass. Grew up out on Mary Mac, but I used to hang on Willow Pass. These birds that I roll with, outcasts and misfits. For the zip lips when you get hit. When the fifth spit, flat line in your pit. Trap habits is black magic, no voodoo. Get the bands like Buku for the cocaine to go cuckoo. Most these niggas is foo-foo, so I'm shitting on them like doo-doo. I can't fuck with y'all like tofu. I'm just saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix or Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause it's still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on Chirac and then fly back out to Milwaukee. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookie to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. When you hear me flow, say I be burning up, burning up. Cookie to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up.
Are you not entertained?
entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Follow. Be easy. You know you want to.
We're waiting. B-Eazy Dat Dude. B-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the boardroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the boardroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah, they know the name. B-Eazy Dat Dude.
You love me. You really love me. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.